welcome to a very special edition of our monthly pitch event in partnership with Women in Tech, Vonage, HubSpot, and Figure. We're thrilled to be bringing you some of the most exciting emerging startups, all led by female founders. I'm Tara Lukabaugh, Director of Strategic Initiatives at OneValley, and I'll be your host for today. None of this would be possible without our event sponsors. So on behalf of the whole OneValley team, I'd like to thank everyone for making this event a reality. We'll be hearing more about their contributions later on. Before we kick it off, I want to tell you a little bit about what we do here at OneValley. OneValley is a global entrepreneurship platform that supports entrepreneurs, accelerates startups, and empowers organizations across the globe that foster innovation communities. Over the past 6 years, OneValley has supported hundreds of startups that have raised over $1 billion. Our mission here is simple: to democratize the resources of Silicon Valley and share them with the global community. We do so through a variety of initiatives, including events like these. Pre-COVID, we were running 80 events a year in person in our various spaces. But today, not only are we running these events virtually, but the online accessibility of them has opened up these opportunities to the world at large. The effects you'll see today with a few of our startups joining from other geographies and time zones. So everybody, please thank them for their time. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Passport, our online innovation platform. As you can see, Passport, our online innovation platform, hosts over 40,000 members who access and interact with not only each other, but also with dozens of corporate partners, hundreds of investors and mentors, and nearly $1 million in discounted or free technology tools and services. Special for our viewers today, we're offering 25% off of a premium Passport membership with the code 25female. So if you're not a member yet, I encourage you to check us out and take advantage of the discount by clicking the banner at the bottom of your screen. As we mentioned, this event has been supported by our awesome partners, offering their resources to make this event successful. We can't thank you enough for helping us continue the conversation about female empowerment and entrepreneurship and supporting us in showcasing some of the fantastic entrepreneurs that you'll see today. To learn more about our supporting partners, we've provided details at the bottom of your screen. Now, let's get to our fireside chat. I'd like to welcome Carine de Meyere, President and founder of Women of the World, who will be sharing her experience as a founder, author, and advocate for workforce diversity and bridging the gender gap in leadership. Thank you so much for joining me, Carine. I'm really excited for the conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. That was an amazing video to start with. So much high energy and yeah, and incredible achievements. And so I think it's wonderful that you're organizing this. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the support. Yeah, the music's great. I'm always kind of dancing behind the scenes. But before we get into the conversation, I would love for you to share a little bit about your background and the work that you're doing.
Okay, well, I was educated at a women's college. I am from the Netherlands originally. I have Norwegian and English roots as well running through my veins, but I was born and raised in the Netherlands. And I went to study in the United States. At that time, I was very good in sports. Tennis was my passion, and it actually allowed me to be able to get a scholarship, which was in the 1980s. That was quite, rare to go and study in the United States. Nobody understood why I wanted to do that. But my father, who has actually been my big inspiration, always said, the Netherlands is too small for you. So anyway, I was very grateful to be able to go there. And I think a women's college, I mean, in the Netherlands, that's something that we never had. And I am so grateful now looking back on that, because first of all, I was so fortunate enough to have a lot of different kind of nationalities around me, not only Dutch people, but not only Americans, but Mexicans and Indians and people from South America. And I mean, it was just incredible. And they're actually still friends of mine, which is wonderful, even though, I moved back to Europe for a while, and then I was back in the States, and then I lived in London for a while, and now I'm partly in Costa Rica. So I've been all over the place. Anyway, so after Wales, I went back to Europe. But I realized that what I had learned those 4 years at Wells College is that there was never any competition amongst women, because we were all in the same space, and we were all pretty smart. I mean, it was one of the 7 sister colleges, so I mean, we all knew that we had gotten good SAT scores, and we were all that we had done well. And I remember at our graduation that our commencement speaker said, she was the daughter of Desmond Tutu. She said, "I really hope that these 4 years have really educated you in a way that you are able to tackle and actually find solutions for the problems that we have no idea that are going to be, bestowed upon all of us. And you are the future, and I'm still very, very grateful for that. I mean, I actually had to give a commencement speech last week in Paris for one of the oldest tech universities. And I actually mentioned to them the same. I said, I really hope that what you learned here, the last 18 months is going to give you confidence, self-confidence, to really tackle with these challenges. And I think that's right away where, so later in life, I actually became a social entrepreneur. I went back to university actually to complete a master's in women's studies at Harvard. That was in beginning of 2000. And there I was really, I'd actually become a mother by then of a 4-year-old. At that time, he was 4 when we moved to Cambridge. And I was really much introduced to the interactive children's museums, the Boston Children's Museum, the New York Children's Museum. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. Technology and education, it is all coming together. And so I actually wrote a business plan to start the first interactive children's museum in the Netherlands called Quim, which stands for Kids in Motion. And there again, it's the word motion, it's change. It's about, you need to adapt, because the world is never what you think it's going to be like. And you can come up with a solution, but then somebody else has already come up with the solution. And so you need to be able to adapt. And that was really something that we actually wanted to create with the Kids Interactive Museum. And at that time, what I noticed being a social entrepreneur, it was very difficult to raise money, for a woman, and I remember so many of the pitches that I had to give, and very often also because I was married to somebody who had done quite well, and he was also quite known, and the people, they would always think, why is she coming here, to ask us for money? I mean, she's surrounded by it. And it always used to frustrate me because I never used my husband's name, never, ever. Mm-hmm. So very often people didn't even know. But I guess in the business world, because it was mostly men, I don't think I ever sat across the table with a woman. So that already, I think for me, was the wake-up call to realize that after Quim, I wanted to start a company that was going to be able to, and that was going to focus on actually raising more awareness for women to actually step into the financial sector, because women give to women, and also to be able to find funding for female founders, because I knew that I had been lucky because I had a good network and I had a good story, but I saw so many other women actually failing. And then in 2014, I joined TED Amsterdam Women, which was the first women event of TED outside the United States. And we actually also started a TEDx Amsterdam Women Startup Award. And we were the first ones in that in the Netherlands. And it became a huge success because we were teaching these women on one hand how to pitch well and how to have a good story. And we were also inviting, great investors and jurors like what you're doing today. And, every time there was always somebody who would actually walk away with the big check, of course. And what we saw at that time already is that women, when they become founders, they do something out of their heart because it's very passionate, because it's something that they're worried about, and it often needs to serve the planet. Mm-hmm. And I think that sort of, gives a little bit also the journey of what I've actually been doing, because I'm now part of 3 funds. One is called Future Planet Capital. I joined them in 2016, and it's an impact investing fund. And it was founded in London by a man who was on the advisory board of the Oxford Science Innovation, because he thought sort of, and I think it's brilliant, he said companies that come forth out of universities have amazing drive from the founders. They often have had already some funding, in like from grants for like research, but they usually they're very much perseverance. So he said, I want to create the first global university IP investment fund, and we're going to invest in the top 10 universities of the world. And we're going to focus on companies that have solutions for climate change, healthcare, education, security, and sustainable growth. And we actually just, we are actually about to close our Series A, which I'm really proud of. We have about 300 million pounds under management. So that's quite impressive. Yeah. And we were just actually had our showcase portfolio during COP26 in Glasgow, where Prince Charles actually offered, he actually joined our event, and he was extremely impressed with all the companies that we showcased there. Then I joined last year Antler, and Antler is a global accelerator. It's definitely something that I would advise all of these amazing pitch women later to at least try out if they can become part of the American cohort system, because it's really, really beautiful. All the companies that I've seen come forth out of that, and they are really financing the innovations, you know, which are really going to impact the world. And then the latest, what I've joined is called JEDI, Gender Equity Diversity Investments. This was launched by Sophia Swire during Glasgow, during COP26, and it's going to be focused entirely, it's going to be a $100 million fund. It's going to be entirely focused on female founders who have solutions to climate change. So that's me a little bit.
Wow. Incredible. I love hearing about the journey and everything that's influenced you along the way, and how your experiences are translating into all of the work that you're doing. And congratulations on the funds. It's really exciting.
Well, thank you for that.
I just want to dig into one thing actually that you said kind of early on about the words you heard at your commencement, and then carrying those kind of forward into the commencement that you recently gave. And words are really powerful. And I know that you have a personal quote that, or a kind of motto that you pull from. And it is, if you want to go fast, work alone. Yet if you want to go far, work together. And I wanted to just hear a little bit about where that came from, and what you take from it, and kind of how it applies to the world we're in today.
Well, I think, to be quite honest, that actually came from my own experience, because I was always pretty much very much a loner, and I think that's when you play tennis high level, then it's always you. So you very much become dependent on yourself. And I remember coming back to the Netherlands with this business plan that I'd written and that I had really studied, and you know, I had some really wonderful professors, all male by the way, at Harvard, both at the Kennedy School and the business school, who very much inspired me. And I had a professor at MIT who had founded the Media Lab, and who really, you know, was able to show me like the unique essence of, you know, connecting education to like technology. But then I came back to the Netherlands, and I found it very hard to find a partner, because, you know, I knew what I was, but I knew that I was not going to be able to find that in another person. So at that time, it probably must, and I actually did find somebody, but it must not have been easy for her to work with me, because I was not in that mindset yet. And actually now, when I look at Antler, I just was part of, I was actually a speaker for the Dutch 4th cohort, which was about a month ago. And so let me tell you just a little bit about Antler. Antler is a global accelerator incubator. And so in each country, they actually organize cohort system, which is like a 10-week program, and you can apply for that. They had 2,700 people apply, and they had 70 people that they could actually, you know, host. And of course, it's like 80% men and only 20% women. So, you know, that always sort of upsets me. But I remember that I asked all of them, what's the reason that you're here in this cohort? And they all said, I'm looking for a partner, because I have a feeling that if I have a partner who actually does not have the same qualities that I have, who actually has other qualities, that I'm going to be able to reach my dream instead of doing it all alone.
That's great. I kind of actually, that perfectly translates to the next question, which is around mentorship. You've said in the past that you're blessed to have 2 very strong grandmothers, one being the first woman to study economics in the Netherlands, which is just incredible. And everyone kind of always talks about the importance of mentorship and the importance of kind of working with someone who's been there. And we find mentors everywhere, often at home or at work. And so I'm curious about, in your experience, what's the benefit of finding a mentor, and what's your advice to finding the right one?
Well, it's interesting that you were only mentioning the word mentor, because I think more in certain people are a good mentor for you, but other people are maybe a better sponsor for you. And I think these actually are two completely different specialties. I think a mentor can be somebody older, somebody who has walked that journey that you have actually already gone through, and who might be able to warn you a little bit. But however, for me, having a mentor means that they're also sometimes critical, and that they maybe tell you things that you may not like to hear, but because I think you cannot establish a good mentorship relationship if the heart isn't equally connected. And so, I mean, I would never choose a mentor, you know, who sort of scares me or whatever. But so if you feel that you have a good heart-to-heart relationship, I think a mentor can be extremely valuable. However, I've also had some sponsors in my life. And actually, as I'm growing older, those sponsors are becoming more women. And I think that's nice, because that's exactly what I felt during my, you know, during my 4 year at Wells. I mean, we were like each other's biggest supporters, and we still are. I mean, I actually launched during COVID, because I was actually, I came down in Costa Rica. I was living in New York, actually launching the Women in Tech USA, which Laurie is now running. And then COVID happened, and then we moved, you know, temporary to our house in Costa Rica, but that actually turned out to be 15 months. And I created a global girls chat with all my global friends all over the planet. I mean, literally from Hong Kong, Australia, South Africa, to Chile, Argentina, Brazil, America, and lots of Europe and South Africa as well. And what I noticed during that whole period is that there was no more competition, because we were all in the same, you know, we were all juggling, you know, literally and, you know, there was lots of insecurity. Some of our global girls, their husbands got sick or themselves got sick. And, you know, I mean, and that's when I realized when women are in the same room, basically, and there are no men, you know, to actually compete over. I mean, and this actually goes back into the Stone Age, I think. But anyway, then I think women are much more supportive of one another. And I've noticed, you know, of course, coming from the Netherlands, people always think that the Netherlands is so advanced also with like the amount of women on boards and everything, but that's really not true. It's only until last year and this year that we are now sort of reaching the 30%, but it really goes very slowly. I mean, what I'm just noticing is that moving the needle is the most difficult thing. And I think the only thing that's going to improve that is when women stick together, support each other, help each other, don't feel that competition. I mean, I'm going to tell you a little bit later, but I also just recently, out of Women of the World, I organized a trip to the UAE, because it's the first time in history that the World Expo had a women's pavilion. That's never happened in history before. And we all know that if you go to a World Expo, every country showcases its aspirations. And this year, so many countries also spoke about gender equality. And I think it's because of the Women's Pavilion. And so I organized this trip around it. And now after that trip, I see there's so much amazing energy erupting, and these women are helping each other and helping each other find money. And I'm like, this is what happens when women come together. Beautiful things happen.
That's amazing. You actually just answered my next question, which was going to be about kind of what you're seeing around the world and what gives you optimism in terms of equity in entrepreneurship and capital. So thank you.
Well, actually, today, I mean, I'm actually part of two other WhatsApp groups. One is called the 2022 Female Angels, which was literally launched as a sort of like a result out of the female leadership trip that I organized to the Middle East. The founder is Sophie Smith. She's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. She's had 2 exits already, incredible lady. I'm most likely going to be investing in our company as well, because I always look for the passion and the perseverance in an entrepreneur. And if that strikes my heart, then I know that she's going to take care of my money and that she's going to multiply it and that she's going to do good with it as well for the world. And this is Napta Health is a company that actually wants to have online virtual support, medical support for women on the African continent. And then the other group I'm part of is Jedi. And today and actually 2 of the members are Shelley Porges and Sarah Chen, and they are the founders of the $1 billion fund. And it's incredible. Today was the launch, or actually, they actually pledged that there's going to be $1 billion money needs to be moved towards female entrepreneurs. And today there was a report was launched. I yet have to read it, but the results look very promising. And it's happening because women are supporting each other and they're doing it together.
It's incredible. Congratulations. And those are all exciting initiatives, and I hope the best for all of them. I wanted to touch a little bit around the conversation of equity and kind of your contributions to that conversation and what you've observed as a champion for kind of the support of female founders. So what are some traps that you sort of see that exist in this conversation today, things that maybe distract from the true overall progress or feel like sort of something that just gets hashed out over and over again?
Well, it's interesting, there are lots of VCs and angel investors, and I often ask them, so how many companies have you actually been investing in which are run or which were founded or co-founded by women? And then it stays quiet. Whereas then if I look at their website, they will like showcase and say that they're so pro female founders and everything. And I'm hearing this from very many other female investors as well, is that they find it also frustrating, even when they work as a female in a VC or in a private equity, they have to fight much harder in order to get funding shifted towards a female entrepreneur. And so one of my things is that's why I've been very focused on actually, educating more women into the financial world, but also having VC firms started by women only. Because if you have men in that team as well, you really have to juggle. It's really, really difficult.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Especially, given, as you mentioned, over the past year, investment in female-founded startups has almost doubled from 2020 to 2021, according to a New York Times article that was published recently. And as you mentioned, that's a positive sign. And there's still roadblocks kind of along the way, as you also mentioned. But what do you think has happened over the past couple of years to trigger that influence and that change, even in the midst of all of these roadblocks?
Well, to be quite honest, I mean, of course, we've all really had to endure difficult times during the pandemic. However, I have seen a lot of women starting their own companies. And I think as a result, I've seen women coming together more. I even saw it in the Netherlands. There are like 3, women who are quite successful in the whole VC world, but I saw they were always very much, they wanted to be one of the guys. And it used to drive me crazy because I used to say to them, you're actually playing the same game now that they do. And you are not treating these female entrepreneurs, from a feminine side. So I think maybe in a way I'm seeing that, I think that feminine characteristics, both as a leader or as an entrepreneur or as an investor, are maybe becoming more mainstream. It's more okay. And what I'm also realizing, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the book called Meta Human, which was written by Deepak Chopra 2 years ago. And when I read that, I realized that's something that women are meta-human naturally. And I'm going to give you an example. We all know the 15th of August that the Taliban, literally walked into Kabul. And well, I mean, it's a tragedy that absolutely erupted there. Laurie and I have both very much been involved with a company called Future Billions, and I have been doing their fundraising. We've been very successful, but what we also noticed that it was so difficult to actually make men often see what was happening. And the woman, Sophia Swire from Future Billions, she brought 125 people together, and it actually became like a metaverse. I mean, we were not nobody had ever really worked with each other. However, our hearts were all touched, by these horrible pictures we were seeing. And of course, it was the women and girls who were being, threatened the most. And so we spent literally the first 3 weeks, I was actually here on holiday. Well, that wasn't holiday because I spent literally 5 or 6 hours a day on Zoom, chatting, sending out emails, using my social media, trying to raise the money. And it has been incredible. I mean, you know, I was part of the fundraising there, and there was a team that was part of the production. There was a team of operation, there was a team of this. And then we were also working together with other organizations. And we've actually recently been able to bring into safety Sharba Gula. I'm not sure if you remember who she is, but she's the famous Afghan girl who was on the National Geographic in 1984. Mm-hmm. And when I heard the story 3 weeks ago, how that whole evacuation had happened, I said, this is the example of a metaverse. And this is what women can do. I mean, I think the less our ego is involved and the more our heart is connected, we are nonstop being creative, thinking, okay, hey, I know somebody there. Hey, I know somebody there. Let's just connect them. And then I will step out. And that's exactly how we have been able to really bring a lot of people into safety. And I must say, from all the work I've ever done in my life, this has actually been the most rewarding in a way, because I think saving somebody's life, somebody who had a life, somebody who was an activist or journalist or doctor or simply a mother, but with very strong ideas, you know, I mean, the Taliban, as we speak, is still, you know, tracing them, and still, you know, people have to hide, and, you know, I mean, it's a horrible situation.
Carine, that's amazing. I'm speechless. And of all the things you've mentioned today, you know, I think that is the one that I will walk away with the most. And I separately, I've had an incredible conversation with you, and I'm sure all the other women in the audience can agree that I will walk away feeling much more empowered and like I can conquer the world. And before we leave, because we are coming up on time, so I want to be respectful of that, I do have one more question that I want to make sure we get to, and that is, if you had to leave the founders pitching today and all of the female founders in the audience with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Always stay true to yourself. And I'm going to give one example. When I was in my fundraising campaign for Quim, I had somebody in the Netherlands who wanted to fund it big time. But my feelings and my intuition said that this man was trying to greenwash through my project. And I was like, we may open a year later, but I'm not going to let my beautifully, you know, literally from the heart created project, you know, be used for somebody else. So, I mean, because of course we all want money, because, you know, and we need money, you know, otherwise you can't pay your people. And you also, you know, and it's also about self-worth. That's why I really don't think everybody should be volunteering all the time, because sometimes you need, your self-worth also needs to be established. But I think that's the main thing. I think women and money, that's always a tricky thing. It's not something which is totally embedded in our system. I found it always hugely uncomfortable to actually negotiate about money and salaries. So, but I think, you know, stay true to yourself. Look for investors who are really connected to the topic of your company, and, you know, and who can also maybe be a mentor. You know, very often, especially in the beginning, people want to be involved. All the companies that I've invested in, I've actually invested also in a green juicing company, which I love, and I'm helping them to actually now launch in the States. It's because I always drink juices, and I'm able to actually coach the female woman who's doing that. So try to look for investors who are close to your heart, and who like resonate with you.
Thanks so much. It's great advice. Thank you again so much for joining us, Carine. I had a wonderful time chatting with you. And I want to thank you for everything that you've done and that you continue to do to support this community.
And I wish all the 8 pitchers today incredibly good luck. I will be listening. So thank you very much, Tara.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Moving forward, we're going to go ahead and get started with the pitch portion of today. I would like to kick it off by first introducing our judges. So our judges for today are Kate Celadetz. She is my colleague and senior associate at OneValley Ventures, and Alba Zuriaga Carda. She is head of global innovation strategy at 500 Global. And I'm going to go ahead and give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. So Alba, would you like to kick us off?
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Tara and OneValley Ventures, for the invitation to join this wonderful initiative to be able to support female founders. So as Tara was mentioning, my name is Alba. I'm part of 500 Global. one of the world's leading global venture capital firms, as well as leading a startup accelerator and being an ecosystem builder. And within 500, our mission is to uplift people and economies through entrepreneurship. And to date, we've been able to invest and support over 2,500 technology startups across 75 countries around the world. And within 500, I lead our global innovation strategy practice. So I work very closely with corporates, governments, as well as startups to develop thriving startup ecosystems around the world and be able to support early stage founders. And as I was mentioning, really excited to be here today and be hearing about the 8 wonderful startup pitches.
Thanks so much, Alba. Kate, do you want to jump in and share a little bit about yourself as well?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate. I'm part of the investment team at the OneValley Ventures. And a few words about what we do. At OneValley Ventures, we invest in early stage. Typically, it's pre-seed, seed, sometimes pre-series A companies from across the existing ecosystem of OneValley, as well as our partner network. We invest in dynamic founders that are solving high-value problems for customers in growing markets by using next-generation technologies, proprietary data sets, access to extensive networks, etc. We are industry agnostic, so we typically invest across multiple sectors and are focused on the digital transformation and AI ML technology trends. Our check size can be as small as 100K in pre-seed stage company and as large as 500K in seed, post-seed stage companies. And prior to joining the OneValley Ventures, I was actually on the investment team at the 500 Global that you just heard about from my dear former colleague Alba, with whom I'm privileged to judge the pitch competition today. And really, really excited to be part of this incredible event, excited to hear all about the companies led by incredible female founders that are going to present today. And of course, wishing luck to everyone pitching. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alba, and thanks again, Kate. You guys have a very difficult task today. I'm going to let you know. We have 8 incredible founders that'll be giving upcoming presentations. For the audience, just a quick review of how this is going to go down. Each of our presenters will give their presentation, and then they will be prompted a few questions by Kate and Alba. Kate and Alba will be judging behind the scenes, and at the end of the event, we will announce our winners. So our pitching founders today are Jennifer Edmond, CEO and founder of Daymade, Dr. Jennifer Meller, CEO and founder of Navimize, Adi Dinner, CEO and founder of iFocus Health, Rachel Kosser, CEO and founder of Virtual Sapiens, Elena Belashapkova, CEO and founder of inspace, Jing Zhu, CEO and founder of Duet, Kaio Ray Nystrom, CEO and founder of Quim, and Liz Warner, CEO and founder of Gleam. A reminder for our audience about what is at stake for our founders tonight. Our grand prize winner will be walking away with $2,000 in cash, 1,000 pounds in Vonage credits, and 90% off of HubSpot's consultation and software solutions. The Audience Choice Award will win $500 in cash. And as mentioned, all 8 of our participants tonight will be given a female founder scholarship to Passport, as well as 1 year of free access to Figure's cap table solutions. So there are a few ways as well that you as the audience can take part in the action. First, please ask questions to our pitching startups in the chat. And if we do have time, we'll get to them. Next, please rate each company after their pitch. Your votes will determine the Audience Choice Award, and by rating, you will be entered in a raffle for the chance to win 1 free year of Passport for yourself. And finally, if you would like to connect with any of the pitching startups, ask for an introduction through the Meet the Startups tab at the top of the page. So without further ado, I would like to kick it off with our first presenting startup, Jennifer Edmond, CEO and founder of Daymade. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jen Edmond, and I'm the founder and CEO of Daymade. a platform introducing instant booking, wedding financing, and event management to both vendors and engaged couples, all under one trusted third party. I was a wedding planner and florist for 10 years, and I kept hearing the same stuff being told to me over and over again by all of my customers. That they were using these same kind of tools that we've been using since we were like in 8th grade, like a really long time ago. They're using binders and doing spreadsheets. And this is how it's being done in 2021. This industry is wildly fragmented and so old school, and it desperately needs modernization. And the vendors also, they're literally handwriting receipts. They're using payment apps. They're still taking checks. It is like you are then now, as a user, succumb to whatever method that these vendors need to use. It's really antiquated. This wedding industry is completely stuck. 98% of married millennials say that planning their wedding is the most extremely stressful, expensive, and difficult process of their lives, and they always look back on it as being that. And 80% of wedding vendors actually fail due to burnout within 5 years. They spend so many hours just sending out proposals to have 9 out of 10 of them be rejected. There's no true project management system and no vendor accountability with the current solutions that exist today. So our solution is we've made a platform and enables a $4 trillion TAM. And we do that by unlocking event financing and instant booking through the first ever double-sided marketplace for vendors and customers. And we're starting here in weddings. I'm an expert in weddings, but we also see this working even better through corporate events and social events in the future. And what it's like, we have a platform that works for both sides. Vendors come in and they put and venues make their profiles, connect their booking calendars, and upload their pricing. Vendors refer their customers to book them on their day-made profile and then book the rest of their team. And then they can also choose how and when they want to pay. They could do pay in full, half and half later, or even finance their wedding long-term. We make 5 to 15% per transaction that comes from a vendor as a marketing fee. Every vendor has about 20 customers that they bring in a day made, and they're each worth $23,000, which each vendor is worth $46,000 ARR. Our milestones, we launched a beta test. We started with 300 vendors, and this was right before launch. And right before the pandemic hit us. And then we took this entire time during the pandemic to grow this vendor network, get these users in, and they started really using this platform. And we're about to launch our official product coming up in January. We anticipate being worldwide by 2030, US-wide by 2024. Market opportunity is huge. I mean, we all know what COVID did to the wedding space last year, but it's about to slingshot. We all knew that was going to happen. No one just stopped getting married. They just had to push it off a little bit. We're expecting a $60 billion industry next year. It's about to be the biggest year in wedding history. So our competitors are all indirect. They were all built by brides, not by vendors. This is what makes DayMade so unique. We are the first platform built by vendors for vendors. All of our competitors are technically local vendor search and then some content and interesting stuff, but nobody actually streamlines the process for both or has any kind of booking or transaction, and thus cannot introduce the financing component. Our team is incredible. I have 10 years under my belt as a wedding planner and florist, and was award-winning, and then Danielle, an award-winning venue manager and catering manager, and she's our head of customer success. She's like the face of DayMade. And everybody's uniquely connected to the problems that we're solving. Everyone is either married or from the wedding industry, married to somebody in the wedding industry, and we're all very uniquely connected to the problems that we're solving here. And that is DayMade. We are currently raising right now. We have 25% of our round committed, and we're definitely looking to close this round as soon as we can and support the biggest wedding year in history. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jen. As someone in the midst of planning a wedding right now, I can tell you I'm definitely passing this along to my planner. So I'm going to throw it over to Kate. Kate, do you have any questions for Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for a great overview. And I do believe that, next year, 2022 should be really probably one of the busiest years in the wedding space. And I also recently went through this experience during COVID. So my wedding was just a lot smaller than expected, but I definitely know the pain points. Yeah. And my question is around the vendors. So, as many couples, most of the couples, right, who plan bigger weddings, they prefer working with wedding planners, right? And typically, those wedding planners already have their preferred list of vendors. Sometimes it's even mentioned in the contract that if you decide to work with me, then here's the list of vendors you kind of have to go with. So if that's the case, it kind of potentially reduces the size of your market. Have you guys thought about it, and how are you approaching this kind of obstacle?
Yes, definitely have thought about that. Actually, most wedding planners do not have a closed list of vendors. That's a very common thing with venues, though. Definitely with venues, most of them have a closed list. But how that we've already made partnerships with 1,500 venues just in California, 5,000 vendors, including wedding planners. So we don't exclude wedding planners from this market. And really, this is the whole purpose of Daymade is for transacting. We want to simplify the booking process, and wedding planners love to use Daymade because now they also have complete transparency into the availability and pricing of every single vendor that is on the platform. And we want to keep bringing on new vendors. So a wedding planner is on here and they want to make it simple for their user to finance their wedding, which every wedding planner wants to make their clients' lives easier. And a lot of that is by putting everything on one bill. So then to bring their vendors onto Daymade platform is also, they are incentivized by it financially and also for the convenience of their customers. So this really is something that helps the entire ecosystem of the vendor network. And it's something that we're also working to make even better for venues. We say they're actually the biggest cog in the system. Wedding planners are actually the biggest motivator in our platform.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. And one more question on the vendor side. Kind of curious if you have any vetting process in order to onboard vendors. Can any vendor kind of be part of the platform, or you have specific criteria? And if so, is it a manual process, or how does this process work for you guys?
Sure, it's a very strict vetting process for one. We have a set list of criteria based on their social inclusivity, their social media presence, their brand, their website, their portfolio, their reviews. These are all taken into extreme consideration. If you go onto the knot.com right now and search, you can get like 66 pages just in San Francisco of photographers with like 60 photographers on each page. It's like information overload. You don't even leave the first page. Here, we don't let anybody who thinks they're anybody get an ad. This is like, we created a curated list of the top vendors in every location. So you come on here and find who's best for you. And also all the way down to a proper filtration system of like finding people who are really great for planning a gay wedding or for an eco-sustainable wedding, whatever is most important to you, you can find them based on your style, budget, etc. And for the, but vendors can onboard. Once they come in, they can apply, or we can actually personally invite them to apply. And then they have a whole onboarding side of this marketplace themselves that they input all of their information, upload their pricing, and make it completely their own little mini website within Daymade.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. This was very helpful.
Question from my side, Jennifer. Hopefully by the end of today, you have one more user with Tara joining the platform. But in building this like double-sided marketplace, what is the monetization model that you're following? Are you charging a percentage of fees, charging the couples, the wedding planners? Can you explain a little bit around that? Percentage of transaction. We're about to launch the official platform in January. And so that's when this new monetization business model will actually launch, which is the percent of every transaction actually is what we take in. So between 5 and 15% depends on the category. It depends if you finance. So it's 5% for venues and planners, and then 10% for all other vendors, and then additional 5% if you choose to finance. Amazing. And for that financing, do you already have partners secured that are going to be offering this, or what are the plans around it?
Yeah, right now it's a simple payment plan leading up to the wedding day. So no one has any risk. But we are looking for, once we can actually get some regular MRR, then we have some partners that are waiting to partner with us when we actually have the revenue to prove it.
Awesome. And if we have more time, I noted that the key value proposition, or kind of like the purpose why the platform was created, was curated towards the needs of the industry or the vendors. But have you had some early validation of testing it, and what do some of the users actually have to say of the value proposition?
Yeah, this is about convenience to the user. We have 40,000 users that have been coming in since launch in March of last year. They come in, we have so many amazing tools and content that is really educational as well as really fun, and that helps them discover their style and lots of other fun things. But the majority of this, they come in here looking for financing as one big component. 80% of couples finance their weddings anyway, but they usually do it with like some crazy steep percentage and APR on a credit card. This actually lets them finance responsibly, and actually all the dollars actually go to their vendors and not to whatever else they want to spend it on, which is God knows what that is. So this gives us the opportunity to really responsibly help people, and these customers really love this platform. They return every week, and there's so many amazing tools that they actually really become very invested in.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you to our judges, and thanks so much, Jen, and congratulations on the progress so far.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, we are going to move forward to our second presenter. Up next, we have Dr. Jennifer Meyere, CEO and founder of Navimize. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jennifer Meyere, and I'm the CEO and founder of Navimize. Navimize is a digital health company that features an end-to-end patient communication platform with a unique virtual waiting room solution. So the pandemic has really shone a light on a lot of the glaring inefficiencies in the healthcare system. And crowded waiting rooms are the most obvious example of a problem that simply is no longer being tolerated. Now, a lot of people think that virtual visits have solved this problem, but today only about 20% of all visits remain virtual. So the physical waiting room is not going away. And virtual visits have actually created new workflow challenges. Physicians are struggling to figure out how they're going to offer virtual visits with office visits together, since they lack technologies to address these new hybrid schedules. So Navimize solves all of these problems. The platform integrates seamlessly with existing electronic medical record systems, monitors workflow, predicts delays, and then sends automated text messages to patients to let them know about delays and schedule updates. And our automated customizable messaging engine also enables providers to send any messaging that they'd like, whether it's visit or procedure specific information, patient education, online reviews, and more. And the platform now manages these new hybrid schedules of virtual and in-person visits. And if you take a look over here on the left, you can see the kind of messages patients coming to the office will get when you arrive. Please wait in your car, and then when to come inside. And on the right, you can see here's information about the telemedicine visit, download the app, and this is when the doctor will be with you. So in terms of traction, in the last few months, we signed a contract with a major health system in New Mexico, a contract with Jefferson Health's ENT department, and we have numerous other large health systems in our pipeline. And on the independent practice side, we have 50 physician customers across 10 practices. And we are also working on partnership agreements, and excited to share that we signed a partnership agreement last month with Epiam, and they are a leader in the mobile registration space. And we have a whole host of other healthcare companies with synergistic technologies that are in our partnership pipeline. And the Epiam partnership is an $11 million opportunity, and we estimate our partnership pipeline at about $40 million. We have a great team. I'm the company's CEO. I'm a physician with over 20 years experience practicing medicine in New York. I graduated with an MBA with honors from Wharton. It was there that I met my co-founder and company CTO, Kavita Mangal. Kavita is an engineer with over 15 years experience in tech implementation and strategy. So in brief, we're a team with deep industry experience in healthcare and tech. And we are now growing. In the last year, we hired a terrific full-time engineer. We also brought on a great head of biz dev and sales. Megan was the first sales hire at the digital health company Validic and was instrumental in scaling that company from 0 to 9 million in ARR in the first 5 years. This is an overview of our business model. We're a SaaS B2B company. We sell to independent practices on a per provider per month basis. And here's our go-to-market strategy. So spent the first few years really taking the company from idea to product, raising early capital, building an MVP, testing, iterating, and achieving product market fit. And we're now focused on partnering with health systems, channel partnerships with EMRs, and really building our brand and establishing ourselves as thought leaders. And as we look ahead, our vision for the next few years is to continue to work on partnerships with synergistic companies and EMR companies, add enhanced analytics, and build out our vision of intelligent scheduling using data and machine learning. And intelligent scheduling will really just completely revolutionize the way we schedule patient appointments today to really drive up efficiencies, increase throughput, and also improve the experience for all of our stakeholders. We have opened up our $3 million seed round of funding. We have over $1 million committed to date. And this is where the funds will go. You'll see a lot towards sales and marketing. Again, the engineering, the product enhancements, and analytics and intelligent scheduling that I spoke about. And with that, I will hand it over to questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller, and congratulations on the Epion partnership and the recent team growth. That's exciting. So Alba, why don't you kick us off this round?
For sure, and incredible work, Jennifer, on the work to date. Maybe a question around what do you consider to be your biggest barrier to growth that you hope to overcome?
Yeah, so the barrier is really the EMR integrations and working through those. So we have our first EMR integration with Athena Health. That was our first big partnership. And Epion is actually very active on the Athena marketplace. They have about 600 customers on Athena. So that's a great partnership because we've already got that integration done. But we're really looking to sew up more of those EMR integrations over time to really be able to grow quickly through those partnerships into the market. Some of the EMR companies are very open to integrating and have marketplaces and very friendly to partners, and some not so much. So I think that the biggest barrier is dealing with Epic, who are the biggest EMR in the hospital market. They own about 50% of the market, and they're notoriously difficult to work with. We're about 90% of our way through our first integration with Epic through the health system that we partnered with. And we're running into some of the usual bumps in the road that all of our other colleagues have told us about, but we're getting really close.
Sounds like almost there then.
Almost.
And question there, don't know if the system and the software, does it also apply to like other fields that are non-medical in which you would also need scheduling and that in-person visits? Is that in the path for growth, or are you purely focusing on the medical field?
Absolutely. So we started in healthcare. That's, my expertise. That's where I saw the greatest need. Certainly from here, the kind of easy expansion path would be towards dentists and chiropractors and veterinarians, but there's definitely opportunity to grow beyond that, to businesses of all sizes where they need scheduling, whether it's, Pilates studios. I was taking a Pilates class and talking to the instructor, and she was like, this would be great. And then we could send text messages for reviews and, things like hairdressers or anywhere where you have an appointment, even restaurants potentially where you're, overflowing and tables get, busy and things run late. Anywhere where there's that potential for wait times, we could really get in there and have an impact.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for a great pitch and congrats on the pretty impressive early traction. A few questions from me, just to clarify on the product side. So basically, the way patients will receive these notifications are coming mainly through the text messages, or longer term, it will be like a standalone app that you're working on.
Yeah, so this is all through text messaging today. do not specifically stayed away from building an app for patients, because everyone is always trying to get patients to download apps and the uptake is really low. So we have started with just direct text messaging. There are health systems that have built their own apps that they want their patients to use. And one thing we can do is have them leverage our wait time capability to display that in their app if they'd like to, so we can license that way to health systems. But we have specifically stayed away from building an app for patients and kept it all text message.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And then I would love to learn a little bit more about the onboarding process. Like how long does it take for, a health provider to be fully onboarded and get familiar and customize your solution to their specific, needs?
Yeah, it's actually pretty quick. So for example, with Athena, since the integration is done, they literally have to fill out a one-line form, submit it to Athena, and then the integration is turned on. So we're in. Then we schedule an onboarding call. We spend about maybe about an hour with the team there, with the practice, understanding what their current workflow is, gathering certain data about the different positions, what their preferences are, understanding what kind of messaging they want to go out, because our platform has become pretty robust in the kind of messaging we can offer. And then we go ahead and set all this up with the team. And then we meet with them usually a couple of weeks later. We run some, usually it's a week later, we run the system in what we call a silent mode, where the messages are generate but don't go out to the patients. And then we kind of come back a week later, sit down with the team, spend about a half hour talking to them and showing them the metrics, how well Navimize performed in terms of the wait time predictions, so that when they turn this on to their patients, they go out with a lot of confidence that we're sending patients the correct messaging about the timing. And then the messaging gets turned on to the patients, and then it runs. We meet with them 2 weeks later for a 15-minute meeting, get feedback, how's it going? And then that's usually it. After that, it's usually just sales, all automated.
Got it. And do we have time for one more question? Okay. Speaking of sales, yeah, just very briefly, if you could walk me through, your sales cycle, who is leading this effort on your end, and how long does it take to close the deal?
Yeah, so it varies depending on who we're targeting. So in a smaller, we started off with smaller practices, and now we're focusing on larger practices. Basically, it's size related. The larger the practice, the more levels of administrative levels there are, and the more legal and IT and other departments you have to get through. So with a health system, the typical sales cycle pre-COVID, I would say it was 18 to 24 months. It's shortened significantly with COVID. It's down to probably about a year. It probably takes a good 6 months from the time you start engaging till they say, okay, we're ready for a pilot. And then you go through IT and contracting and all that, or ready to launch. And then with smaller practices, a practice of 10 or 20 or 30 docs could be within a couple of weeks. Those usually go pretty quickly. Again, when you get into the larger practices, 100, 200, that's sort of like mini health systems, there's many more layers of administration. So it's not as long as a health system, but probably a good 6-month sales cycle. So a little variable.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thanks so much again, and congratulations again on all the progress.
Thank you.
All right, up next in our lineup, we've got Addie Dinner, CEO and founder of iFocus Health. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Hi, I'm Addie Dinner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of iFocus Health. In my background, I'm a physicist and have experience developing medical devices and biotech products. I didn't plan to become a founder. However, I hit a problem and I found a solution. At that point, I didn't have any choice. The problem has to do with ADHD, or with getting the best care for people with ADHD. When my son was diagnosed with ADHD a few years ago, I found that there are 30 different types of prescription medications and numerous other non-pharmaceutical solutions. But the only way to know which one works is to ask, how was your concentration today? How do you compare to the rest of the population? Really? I can't answer that question. and he's 10. As a result, 60% of the kids dropped treatment within 2 years. I knew I needed to find a solution that will make it possible to measure ADHD treatment efficacy. This is why we created iFocus Health, a patent-pending technology to monitor ADHD treatment using eye tracking. It's simple to use and runs in the background on your computer. And it provides objective data. Why are we using eye tracking? I'll show you with the next, looking at our proof of concept. Here, you can see how a high schooler that has ADHD reads without medication. The red dot represents their eyes or what they're looking at. Note how much they go up and down and read and reread every part, and how direct is the measurement using eye tracking. This is how the same person reads with medication. The difference is amazing. And this is the first time you can actually measure how much the medication helps. When they show these results to clinicians and experts and researchers, they're all super excited about this. There's no other solution that competes with this, and everyone is super aware of how big the need is. We have completed proof of concept with 10 patients with results that exceed our expectation and all published work. We're currently, these days, actually releasing our research MVP that will enable us to collect data from 100 patients from their home using the webcam they already have on their computer. ADHD is a very big and rapidly growing market. 1 in 10 people has ADHD. Over 5 million children in the US alone are diagnosed with ADHD. It's also important to note that many parents spend many, many thousands of dollars out of their own pocket to get the best care for their children. Which leads us to our go-to-market approach. We're a B2B2C product driving a subscription-based revenue. The go-to-market is to start by working directly with the leading clinics we already have contacts with and get our reputation and experience working with them where the patients are willing to pay out of pocket. Using that experience, we'll be able to grow to work with digital pharmaceuticals and eventually to get covered by insurance and reach all 5 million kids. I'm super excited about our team. My co-founder, Dr. Sid Bonin, is an expert with about data science and machine learning. Yuli Klerman brings experience in the healthcare world and helps build our go-to-market approach. This is our amazing advisory team. Dr. Hollowell is the leader in the US with care of ADHD. He has founded 5 clinics across the US and wrote over 20 books. We have researchers, clinicians, experts in building clinical research and computer science. As I mentioned, we are currently building our MVP and collecting data to enable to finalize our product and start going to market. This product can be launched pre-FDA and preclinical. We are now raising $300,000 to enable us to get to the first phase of this development plan. And this is some responses I'm getting from patients all the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adi. It's an incredible technology. Congratulations. All right, Kate, would you like to kick us off this round?
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, thank you so much for a great presentation and the problem you're solving. Just to make sure I understood, who is your paying customers now? Are those clinics or parents?
So we'll be working with the first stage only will be where the parents pay through the clinics. These clinics, all these leading clinics are out of network, and parents tend to pay most of the care by themselves.
Got it. Okay, so parents. And then on the product side, just a quick clarification. So let's say when the monitoring part is done via webcam, what happens next? Like, are the results being sent automatically to the doctor, or over time parents collect it and share with the doctor during the next appointment? How does it work exactly?
The concept is to work with the doctors and share with the doctor reports. Let me show that for a second. A report that will look something like this. This has, in this case, a patient would trying 2 different dosages. So you can see on the left side 4 trials without any medication, 4 with a low dose, and 4 with a higher dose. And then you can also see on the right side analysis of a specific option that includes our measure, side effects, and a combined score. And these will be provided to the clinician to make clinical decisions. However, in the same way that we can all see our blood test results, we won't be blocking parents from getting information. The idea, though, this is the clinical decision. And I don't want to make clinical decisions about my kids. I want the doctors to make them.
Absolutely, yeah. My question was more around like how often these reports need to be shared. Is it instant, live reports, or how often parents need to share it with the professional?
So we'll have a platform all the on the clinic side, and they'll be able to see the aggregated data as it becomes more and more accurate with more uses.
Okay, cool. And one more question, kind of probably too early, but thinking of a longer term future, what's in your future pipeline? Like are there any other chronic conditions that you're planning to address, or you want to specifically focus on this one and scale it?
So the first few stages will be to scale for ADHD and include more information that we'll be able to provide as we collect more data, such as flagging misdiagnosis, which happened a lot, and becoming even digital for treatment tool by giving people behavioral feedback. However, this can grow to other conditions. For example, when you have depression or bipolar disease, you really want to detect attacks at the camp. And since we're measuring a change, a difference, that's something we expect we'll be able to do.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Yeah, Ari, thank you so much. The video was so impressive, seeing the difference in eye tracking, eye movement. And I think you were just alluding to it. Would the software and the system also be able to diagnose ADHD before even getting treatment, to understand which are patients that do require medication versus which may not even have ADHD?
So what we're doing differently, and I think that's kind of a change of phase, is we are not trying to diagnose, because diagnostic has to do with defining and how we define the condition. For example, apparently it's different between Europe and the US. There are currently different diagnostic tests. And because ADHD is so complex, people spend hours and many, many thousands of dollars in diagnostic. And in the end, the clinician needs to make the call. And I've heard someone having one test and 2 different experts saying the opposite, right? So we're saying we're not trying to diagnose you. We're trying to see if you're changing. And we're trying to do that by looking at everyday tasks. So I don't care if you improved your working memory or not. If you can do your work better, and reading is a good representative for all of us, or most of us, about what we need to do at work, then we can see the improvement. So if someone uses a fidget tool and reads better, then they're doing better. The diagnostic will stay the same. However, I do envision just being able to see this data of thousands of kids will increase our understanding of ADHD, and we'll be able to figure out much more and understand better the condition, as well as recognize when someone has a pattern that doesn't look like ADHD.
Amazing. And even though I think you mentioned that this first launch may not require FDA approval, once it is fully launched into market, would that be something that you have to consider and apply and do so?
Yeah, we plan to get a Class 1 medical device approval. It's the right thing to do for many reasons. It's also a good marketing tool if you want, because people trust what's been approved by FDA, and we want to be the data-driven scientific tool that everyone trusts. We are not connected to a specific treatment. We can work with medication or with anything else, and that's what makes us different than anyone else in the market today.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and thanks Addie again for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Up next, please join me in welcoming Rachel Kosser, CEO and founder of Virtual Sapiens, to our stage.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It is an honor to be here with so many incredible female founders and innovators. My name is Rachel Kosser. I am CEO and co-founder at Virtual Sapiens, where we're using technology to amplify human connection. There's no surprise, the future of work is here. We are experiencing it right now. And all of you, I am sure, as professionals, experience this day in, day out. With the increased dependency and reliance on video to drive impact in organizations, we need an updated set of skills. This is specifically true when it comes to communication, and especially essential for client-facing professionals who are using video to connect and drive impact. Existing training solutions are out of date. This is actually a picture of me leading an in-person pre-pandemic workshop on physicality, body language, and presence. Definitely not scalable, takes professionals out of the workplace in order to have that impact, and lacks key follow-through and progress tracking. So this is where Virtual Sapiens comes in. We are a scalable, personalized solution using AI to improve communication in what we're calling Work 2.0. So we use our machine learning models, and the first solution we're offering is a personalized communication coach. You can see the sidekick actually at work here, and some of the machine learning models enhanced for this pitch. This is not what the user would experience, but just to give you an idea of some of the data points we're using. Building on top of this sidekick, we'll have manager dashboards and team insights so that we can actually build out our B2B vision. We're using machine learning models that focus on visual communication cues to start, because this is a core differentiator for us. We'll be adding vocal metrics, biometrics, and then eventually trying to figure out how we can actually provide speakers, facilitators with insights on their audience level of engagement. We integrate into any video platform. So whether it's Google, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, we are there for you, platform agnostic. The sidekick, as I said, is our first solution. We are currently in private beta. We're basically like Grammarly for body language and presence. Lightweight application. We have a sidekick that is personalized for you, sits on top of your video, and gives you feedback on these in the middle column there, these following nudges. Importantly, the post-call summary feedback that we provide our users actually provides a little bit more context and insights on why any of these nudges matter in the first place, as they tie into communication themes like confidence, rapport building and empathy, energy and expression. Also to note, we have a gamification system in place to actually positively reinforce behavior when things are going well, because that's also how people learn. The opportunity is massive, again, targeting B2B enterprise communication training budgets. There is an increased adoption and need for accessible training that meets professionals where they are. We have the opportunity to do that with Virtual Sapiens. Training budgets are usually allocating around 40% of that budget towards communication specifically, and that amounts to around 33 billion in an annual market potential. In terms of our go-to-market, we're very early on. We do have fantastic traction building some pilot partners. Over here on the left, you can see some of the firms that we are either actively piloting with or in pilot conversations with. And then over onto the side, once we have these successful use cases, we'll be continuing conversations which have begun already with the platforms themselves so we can integrate and again, meet professionals where they are so we're not asking them to do anything other than what they would already be doing when it comes to their video conferencing. Last but absolutely not least, our incredible founding team and advisors. I myself am a former professional ballet dancer and communication expert. We're leveraging my insights with the AI model and technical talent. Neil, my partner in crime, has a successful founding of a SaaS business on his belt and also acquisition of that business. Our engineers are female first. We are so thrilled and very honored to have them on our team. They've been doing incredible work, and we have amazing advisory from Mass Challenge and our other advisors. We'll be closing out our 300K early raise and are looking forward to what comes next in 2022. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rachel, for the great presentation, and congrats on the progress.
Thanks.
All right, Alba, would you like to kick us off this round?
Sure, thank you, Rachel. And I think I could totally use some training. Could you explain a little bit more around the revenue model? Are you charging B2B? Are you charging per user or per conversation that was tracked? Have you thought around what will be the exact revenue model?
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, we'll be a B2B SaaS, so per seat per month revenue model. The Sidekick itself is interesting because we are going to launch it as a B2C to get some early user traction and feedback. We're also going to use that exact same product with the teams that we're piloting with. And initially, again, that's going at a per seat per month with an annual discounted rate. We have a free trial available to all B2C customers as well, and that's call credit based. So you have up to 6 calls where you get to experience the full Sidekick experience, and then after that you would upgrade to a paid plan.
Amazing. And how does the integration work? Are you collecting like the data, like the call out of the data and video conference, analyzing and then sending it back? And are there any issues with potential confidentiality and what is discussed and whatnot?
Yes, fantastic question. So the way we've built ourselves is privacy first, in the sense that everything is happening locally on the client side. So we don't actually send or record any of your video or audio content. Once we do start using our servers to help with the data and provide additional insights, especially in post-call reporting, it's still just the absolute raw data in terms of the Boolean functions that we receive, right? So it's basically a bunch of zeros and ones. At no point would we be taking your video off of your computer and taking it anywhere.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Hi, Rachel. Yeah, first of all, love the name of the company.
Thank you.
And a few questions. Yeah, kind of to continue what Alba started asking. So that feedback, right? Does it happen live during the live meetings? The main use case is to provide feedback live as the meeting is in progress, or it's more for rehearsal purposes?
Yeah, so the user has the option to do both. The application itself integrates with your preferred calendar, and so we can tell when you're about to have a video call. So if you have auto launch enabled, the Sidekick launches at the same time as your Zoom or Google Meet or whatever it is that you're using, in order to provide you with those live in-time nudges and reinforcements. So for example, I'm using it now and it tells me when things are going well and I accrue presence points. That being said, you're also able to launch the Sidekick whenever you want, if you were, for example, to want to practice something that isn't a scheduled meeting.
Got it. In this case, if let's say I use it to receive live feedback during the meeting, is it visible? Let's say if it's Zoom integration, is it visible only on my side, or it's also available for everyone on the call, kind of seeing that there is a bot or whoever is, in the from the virtual Sapiens side?
Yes. So we're built user first, in the sense that if you were using it, only you would see it. And it's actually even if you were to share your screen, no one else would see the Sidekick.
So no one else on the call will be able to see it.
That's right.
Okay, great. Great. And then once you come to the B2B side of things, right? Who do you think you will be targeting within the organizations?
So from the B2B perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our initial go-to-market is targeting sales teams. So we're speaking with sales enablement managers. we're also in the beginnings of some conversations with hiring managers, so providing tools that help reduce bias when it comes to the hiring conversations people are having almost entirely over video.
Okay, got it. And the very last question. So it seems like the feedback right now is mainly around, the posture, hand gestures, etc. In your future product roadmap, do you have anything to kind of provide feedback on the speech delivery itself?
Yeah, so that's in the product roadmap. What remains to be seen is if we develop that ourselves or if we partner with any of the existing firms who are already leaders and experts in that field. To that point, we are in conversations with certain companies who are interested in what we can bring to the table, at which point we'd be able to really build incredibly nuanced feedback.
Very helpful, and yeah, excited to try it myself as well.
Yes, well, let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rachel. All right, everybody, up next, we have Elena Beloshapkova, CEO and founder of inspace. Everyone, please join me in welcoming her to the virtual stage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elena, and I'm CEO and founder of inspace. We help companies transition into hybrid style work. At the same time, they save up to 50% on rent, and they improve collaboration by 65%. Even before the pandemic, at least 20% of all office spaces were underutilized. And then pandemic happened, and almost every company went remote. After pandemic, 74% of companies are looking to transition into hybrid style work. Some of them already were able to do this. Some of the companies are still in the process, and we are there to help them in this difficult journey. So offices are becoming hubs for you to collaborate rather than a place where you just work from 9 to 5. We are after 300 million SOM, and altogether it's over $46 billion. We have several competitors on the market, and some of them, they are quite interesting. I wanted to mention some of them. Kandeka is one of the first companies that introduced their solutions on the market. But also there is the slowest growing company because of their focus on hardware. Robin and Eden are way more interesting because they're more focused on software. And us, as essentially hardware-free company, we already proved that we are the fastest growing company on the market because we are mainly focused on software rather than hardware as all the rest of our competitors. So some of the numbers, some of the key metrics that probably will be interesting for some of you. So what do? We help companies transform their existing office spaces we help them make any space in their office bookable, any desk, any meet room, any lounge area, and even a parking spot. How does it work? You can book any space in the office. You can find colleagues within a space. You can add your colleagues to your favorite list. You can always see where they are, and you can easily find them within a space. You can also use it as navigation for large campuses. If you have multiple locations, many floors, it's really easy to book any space you want simply by tapping your smartphone onto the device in order to book it, or you can book it in advance. Let's say you're in a traffic jam, just coming to work. Based on all these bookings, we collect a lot of data, and then we present this data to our customers in a form of dashboards and also in a form of a thermal map. Based on this data, our customers can make smart decisions. On average, they save from $4 to $15 per square feet per month. It's a lot of money. I wanted to say that our largest customer actually saved already over 6.5 million last year. And we are really excited to see data for this year in a month. We also help companies come back to the office safely to provide social distancing and contact tracing. The key difference between our solution and our competitors is that our solution doesn't have a hardware component whatsoever. We can also add some hardware pieces later, let's say some touch screens or large screens for navigation, but our solution can work without them. And it's really easy to onboard a new customer. It only takes us from 1 day to 1 week, even if some of our customers are in Australia. So it's really easy to onboard any space we want. We don't have to bring a construction team. We don't have to do literally anything. We have customers in all kinds of states. We are really affordably priced for some of our smallest customers, and at the same time, we also have a lot of great options for our enterprise customers. So on average, we charge 3.5 thousand per month per customer. We sell directly to large corporations. Our biggest customer has 300,000 employees. Our smallest customer has 18 employees. We also have a big partners program. Our team has 25 people right now. I've started this company 2.5 years ago. I've been working on this market for the past 15 years. We have a really strong technical team that launches new features every 2 weeks. And we also have a great sales and marketing team that is led by Jamie, who was head of sales of our main competitors. So what's planned next? We want to become an indispensable solution for majority of American companies. We also are present in Europe and globally. We want to onboard 15,000 customers in the next 5 years. We want to become the biggest player on the market, and also to grow to up to 300 million in the next few years. We have 2 offices in Boston and also a technical office with all of our engineers and developers, and I would be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Elena. Really interesting opportunity given the changes that we're seeing in the world right now. Over to our judges. Kate, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thank you, Elena, for a great presentation. A few questions from my end, just to make sure I understand the actual value prop. Does your solution kind of help to organize the existing office space based on the all COVID safety requirements, or it helps me, for example, if I gave up on my lease during the COVID, you help me to find the office space and then optimize it for my remote or mixed teams?
So we can help you with your existing office space, and also we can help you with a new office space. If before you needed 1,000 desks for 1,000 people, now you need 500 desks for the same 1,000 people, and they can still use the space effectively. Some of them will work remotely, some of them will work full-time from the office, but majority of the people will work, let's say, 3 days from the office and 2 days from home. So we help companies optimize and save millions on rent. We crossed 1 million in revenue, and we are really excited to see where where we're going to be next year. It's a great market.
Sure. You're saying, just to clarify, you're saying if I don't have an office space at the moment, you can help me to find it, or I can go on your
platform. We're not a commercial real estate broker, but if you are looking to reopen a new office, we can help you to basically rent less space than you would need before the pandemic, if you'll decide to open a hybrid office rather than a traditional office space.
Okay, and for those who already have their offices kind of from pre-pandemic, curious how you help those companies with that office space to cut their office rental cost by 50-60%. How does it work?
We usually work with companies with a pretty extensive office portfolio. Usually they have at least 2 office locations. Some of them, they have hundreds of them. So whenever they look at the data, they can estimate how many offices they need within these office locations, how many desks they need, how many meeting rooms. And basically we help them with data. And based on this data, they can make smart decisions.
But what if they are kind of logged in with their rental, for example, next 5-10 years? How would it work in this case?
They can always there are always options, so they can sublease it, they can negotiate it with their landlord, and they can also use this space to bring more people or more teammates from other locations. So there are always ways how you can optimize the space, but it's always up to our customers. We are there to bring data. We are there to bring software solution. We are not in the business of providing consulting solutions for them. There are a bunch of our partners, JLL, Cushman & Wakefield, CBRE, coolers that help them to make those decisions, and we just provide data so they can make them.
Understood. Okay, thank you for clarifying. This is helpful.
Thank you, Elena, for the pitch. And as Tara was saying, I think very relevant in today's hybrid working conditions. A question I was having was, I think you were presenting that one of your clients had saved up to like $6 million, but then your pricing, I saw 6.5, amazing. And then pricing started at $3,000. So quick question, have you considered actually charging either a percentage of savings or a percentage of the gains that a client gets from your software rather than just a SaaS package?
I think it's a great idea. So right now, I think we are really happy with our pricing model. But what I want to do next, in January, we'll introduce a new model for those of our customers that have, let's say some of our customers, they have 500 desks, but they have 3,000 people that use this 500 desks. So we want to introduce a new plan where when we're going to price them based on how many employees they have rather than how many desks. So it's something that we are looking forward to launch in January.
Awesome. And maybe related to that, like what is the top priority in the next 6 months? What is the metric or the item that you're watching the most closely?
ARR and MRR. But besides that, I'm also really focused on building our team. We just closed our round. So right now I need to hire the best people in the market. I'm looking to expand our marketing team to make sure that we're going to have the best team on the market. But primarily we are focused on MRR. I also need to mention that we still have 0 churn rate, which is pretty impressive. And we are also looking closely at all of our metrics.
Awesome. Well, good luck in building that team and incredible work today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena. All right, everybody, we have 3 more incredible founders lined up to close out our pitches today. Don't forget to rate each company at the bottom of the screen for your chance to win a free Passport membership for yourself and to help us decide who will walk away with our Audience Choice Award. Up next, we have Jing Zhu, CEO and founder of Duet. Jing, welcome to the stage.
All right. Thank you so much for having me and for the great opportunities. So my name is Jing Zhu. I am the founder and CEO of Duet. We are a Silicon Valley-based technology company. We develop software solutions to support fleet operators to scale their service faster and more profitably. Our mission is to make transportation services more accessible. We focus on supporting the riders who really need those services. They are the patients, seniors, or people with disabilities, or people just like you and I, but they live in suburbs or rural area who do not have any other means to get around but driving. Fleet operations are really the backbone of those services. Each year, over $100 billion are spent on supporting those riders and by various different private or public organizations who would contract and pay fleet operators to provide those services. We want to empower those fleet operators for 2 things: improve their vehicle utilization and operational efficiency so they can provide more trips per vehicle. And second, to help them grow their services faster. The type of fleet operators we support are mostly small, medium-sized business. They are the most important fabric of our economy. So they hire drivers, own vehicles, and obtain commercial license to operate in their regional market. And you probably know them as Ken's Transport or Joe's Shuttle service. As an operator, they have a daily challenge, which is never ending. So every day they have to come up with a dispatching plan or operation plan to assign all their trips to their vehicles and drivers, so they can provide all their trips on time, use the shortest route to save gas cost, and minimize the vehicle and driver idling time to reduce trip costs, and then collect all the information and data of the trips so they can file report, so they can get paid faster, and they can be in compliance with regulations. So if there's anything changed for the trips, they have to re-optimize. So their day is extremely stressful. Unfortunately, they don't have good and effective tools to support them. The smaller operators are still stuck with spreadsheet and a piece of paper. The bigger ones, they do use softwares, but those are built in 90s, still with Windows 95 UIs. Because of that, most operators are constantly struggling with high trip and operating costs, and they always struggle with their cash flow stress. The most important part, they cannot grow their service fast. So our solution, we are helping them solve these problems. Our solution is a cloud-based fleet operation software platform with very robust data processing capabilities. We focus on 3 areas to add values: dispatching optimization using our proprietary algorithms to reduce their trip costs, and reporting automation so they can get paid faster, and then a separate feature-rich client portal for the admins of the paying organizations to access their own service data and reports. Therefore, operators can reduce their client supporting activity and cost, so they can grow their service faster. We have signed up 10 customers and 10 fleet operators, which worth $100,000 ARR. So this is our team. We're a team of 5, all based in the Bay Area. Collectively, we have decades of experience in building SaaS products as well as solving complex business problems. We're also a Techstar portfolio company, came out of the program earlier this year. So we're raising our pre-seed round. We'd love to talk with you, those of you who are interested in logistics and transportation space. With that, I'm going to stop and take some questions. Again, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. And what a great initiative, Jing. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Over to our judges. Alba, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jing. How large are typically the fleets that are the clients to Duet software?
Sure. So we focus on fleet operators who provide personal transport services. So they typically are smaller than the logistic fleets. Like I would say, the smaller ones, they typically low single digit vehicles, and then the medium large size are 20. I think you have 25 vehicles you consider large fleets. And then for us, we always sweet spot is somewhere between 5 and 20 vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And what is the reason for selecting that niche rather than like the logistics transportation sector?
Well, so we focus on personal transport. I know actually within pandemic, logistics really in the spotlight. We actually last year we seriously considered pivoting into logistics, but when we look at the space, first of all, our passion is still in personal transport. Second of all, there's a big difference between the fleets for logistics and fleets for personal transport, because personal transport, the requirements much higher. We probably don't want to sit in a car with a big dent, but we don't mind our Amazon package to be delivered by them. So and also there's the business is quite different. For us, it's our our passion to focus on the personal transport fleet operators.
And are these adapted vehicles? Because I think I saw that you tailor like patients, seniors, people with disabilities. Are they specialized fleets?
Mixed. So if you look at our customers, they typically have sedans they call it ambulatory. Basically, folks can walk on their own. And then they also have a few vehicles specialized for wheelchairs or gurneys.
I'll pass it on to Kate. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I would love to hear kind of what led you to start Duet. What's your personal story behind it?
Great, thank you. So I mentioned passion a couple of times. So I'm really fortunate to grow up in 3 best places in the world. I was born in Beijing and did my grad school in New York City, and then came to the Bay Area. So the first part of my life, I never owned and driven a vehicle. So when I decided to move to the Bay Area, so people said, you better start driving. So I got my driver license last week. I was in New York, in Queens, and then flew into Oakland Airport, landed to pick up my rental car. Within 20 minutes, I got into my first car accident. So a very rocky start. In the Bay Area, you probably know I cannot live without a car. So even to this date, it's not really my favorite things to be behind the wheel. So and then back in 2010, when the first iPad launched, I got into mobile, helped my previous companies build mobile products. So I fell in love with the mobile product and that platform. And also I was commuting between San Francisco and East Bay, crossing Bay Bridge every day, not fun.
Got it. Interesting. I'm commuting now across Golden Gate Bridge, so I've definitely.
I'm not obvious.
Yeah, and another question is around your competitive landscape. Would love to understand and learn a little bit about it, and also kind of what is the main differentiator.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so the way we see the landscape is we bucket it into 3 groups. First of all, is mature company, TripSpark, Trapeze. Their space spot is more in the fixed route bus, logistic management, very different from the dynamic route point-to-point trips we support. And the second group is a very specialized specialty transport software package. We call them like legacy. I mentioned earlier, most of them are developed in 90s. So the one big thing drawback is that, first of all, some of them are still not in cloud, and second of all, the lack of the data handling capability, which is really important in current setup. So and then the third group is we call it new gen, which we belong to as well. New gen software. So they via Spare Labs. So they, most of them are actually pivot from on-demand service to fleet operations, which we feel like that's not a good fit as a square pegging around hole, because fleet operations is a fixed size fleet. You have 10 vehicles, that's all you have. So like the technology as well as algorithms are going to be very different. So in terms of our differentiation, we, first of all, we build technologies for 2 things. One is fixed size fleet or professional fleet operations. I mentioned earlier, it's very different from the gig work workers. And then second of all, we focus on B2B service, which means there's always organizations that are paying for the service. Once you are paying customers or business, the product requirement is completely different. So if the business will paying for the service, their goal is how, for my budget, like a $1,000 budget, how many trips can I support, can I provide, instead of how fast I can provide you a ride. So vehicle utilization and productivity, we call it in the industry term, is extremely important. Unfortunately, productivity and time to service are 2 sides of balance. You have to pick a battle to fight, and we pick on the productivity and utilization side.
Makes sense. Thank you. And very last quick question. When it comes to logistics and operations, it's all about the some sort of challenges. What's your biggest challenge right now?
I would say actually right now it's limited resource. We have initial tractions and the customer are very excited. We are very excited. And we also realize there's opportunities we can capture, which right now we don't have a resource to capture.
Understood. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jing. And thank you to all of our judges. Moving forward, I would like to welcome Meyere Nystrom, CEO and founder of Quim, to our virtual stage.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me, hear me? Yeah?
Yep.
Amazing. My name is Kaya Ray Nystrom. I am the co-founder and CEO of Quim. We are a self-care line for humans with vaginas and humans without vaginas who love vaginas. I got my first UTI at age 18. That UTI turned into a kidney infection that put me in the hospital. 2 rounds of antibiotics cleared up the infection, but also wiped my body of all of the good bacteria, leaving me with a horrible yeast infection. While Monostat took care of that, its ingredients were incredibly drying, sending me right back to the glycerin-based lube that probably got me here in the first place. After years of enduring that shame-inducing cycle, I started researching what ingredients I was using in and around my vagina. The information was illuminating. I learned that many of the products I used contained ingredients that disrupted my vaginal ecosystem. And more importantly, I learned just how common these health issues were, despite the fact that no one ever seemed to talk about them. The problem with the traditional feminine health aisle is that each product has a singular application that often causes more pain points down the road. Furthermore, the messaging of these products is designed to make women feel ashamed of their bodies and keep them in a never-ending cycle. This is why we created Quim, a line of plant-based intimate health products designed to increase pleasure, decrease pain, and empower people to create daily rituals to proactively care for their sexual health and wellness. Our formulas harness the power of medicinal plants that have been used for thousands of years. And while potent, these plants are gentle enough for daily use. Whether you're looking to address vaginal dryness, difficulty climaxing, chronic infections, menstrual pain, inflammation, or postpartum healing, we believe that proactive daily rituals are a key to a healthy and happy vagina. In 2018, we introduced our first 2 products into the largest and newest adult use cannabis market in the world. Since then, we've developed hemp-derived CBD products that have been sold in Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, Nordstrom, and grown our direct-to-consumer sales by nearly 300% in the last year. We've just begun working with a best-in-class showroom and distributor to increase our retail footprint with shops like Madewell, Whole Foods, Sephora, and Free People. Direct-to-consumer continues to be the fastest growing and most profitable channel by far. AOV, LTV, and repeat purchases are growing month over month. And our Refer a Friend program drives 20 to 30% of new customers and is our lowest CAC channel by far. Despite the personal nature of these products, this program has driven almost 1 million impressions across social media since its launch. And we're just getting started. In the next 2 years, we'll launch 5 net new products and expand beyond cannabis and CBD in an effort to accelerate growth in markets that we cannot currently operate in. Here's a snapshot of the new feminine wellness landscape. What makes Quim unique is our holistic, non-binary approach to intimate health and wellness without all of the shame of our grandmother's generation. While our competitors focus solely on sex or pain relief or symptom management, our product line provides solutions for each category and empowers people to care for their body in ways that make sense for them. Our team is strongly positioned to capitalize on the opportunity ahead of us. Since joining the legal cannabis industry in 2015, I have been honored as a thought leader with awards like the High Times Female 50 and the 100 Most Influential Women in Weed. My business partner, Rachel Washstein, is a second-time founder with extensive experience in operations and logistics. I'm very excited to share that we'll be announcing a notable celebrity ambassador and investor in early 2022, who will increase our brand awareness to include her millions of followers and fans. We are currently raising our seed round of $3 million via a safe note. This capital will allow us to build out our product line, double down on vetted growth strategies, and expand the team. At Quim, we've broken the intimacy barrier. This is the vaginal health revolution, and we hope you want to join us.
Thanks so much, Kayo. That was a great presentation, and congratulations on all of the retail progress and the big announcement coming up.
Thank you.
Kate, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, would love to. Thank you for a great presentation. Yeah, would love a few, 2 first questions are around the product itself. One is, who kind of helps you with product formulations?
Yeah, so all of our products, I will say the earliest version, I started making my own vaginal health products when I was 23 in my own kitchen based off of conversations I had with doctors, naturopaths, and going into every Whole Foods and trying every product out there. Now that we are a real company with real consumers, we develop all of our products with a PhD formulation scientist who specializes in feminine health. We also work with a number of OBGYNs on all of our product formulations, as well as natural herbalists, because there is a lot of good stuff in the garden that we've been using for thousands of years that I think we've forgotten about.
Got it. Okay. And I assume it doesn't need any FDA approval stages, but just wanted to double check that.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, we have 4 products in the market, 2 that have THC that are currently only available in California. We are in talks to license those out to 10 to 15 other markets in the next year, including Canada. The other 2, the ones that are available at Urban Outfitters or Nordstrom, soon to be Madewell, those are hemp-derived CBD. Though none of those products, anything that contains a cannabinoid is not viable for FDA approval. That being said, we are expanding beyond the cannabis space to use other plant-based adaptogens. So FDA approval is more, I would say, is something we're looking into down the road when we expand beyond cannabis. We recently brought in an investor and a member to our advisory board who sits on the UCLA School of Medicine board, who is helping work with us on both the FDA approval process as well as doing some medical studies with the UCLA School of Medicine.
Got it. Okay. And, like as it comes to D2C products, like big part of the success and growth is an actual brand, positioning, brand awareness. And another piece of kind of successful component is the community of kind of ambassadors and supporters behind the product line, right? Would love to learn a little bit more if you have that community in mind, if you're growing it currently, and how do you make sure that the brand is growing and the positioning is really strong in terms of the competition?
Yeah, I mean, I will first say that Quim, since its origin, has been really quite bootstrapped. Since our origin, we've raised about $1 million. And with that, we have attained the support and brand loyalty of not only brand ambassadors and pelvic floor specialists and influencers, but, in the process of identifying a celebrity ambassador, of the 50 people we reached out to, 3 of whom were already familiar with our products. We've also been working with a product placement agency to get our products on the set of, fingers crossed, we'll see Quim on the Sex and the City reboot, the new Gossip Girl, and Love Life season 2, as well as, oh my gosh, a Search Party, another HBO show. So I would say, 1, we're investing in that. We know that it's incredibly important. A key element of our growth strategy has always been educational content. It's our goal to provide products that help people improve the connection they have with their own bodies. But more importantly, so few women understand that the lubes that they're using are using, bleach cotton tampons, or that the FDA doesn't require condom companies to list all of the ingredients in lubricated condoms. So people think they have a latex allergy when really they are, sensitive to glycerin. Glycerin is a metabolic byproduct of sugar. And so a key element of, we're a team of 4 people. 1 person is entirely focused on content marketing and content creation because it's a very essential part of growing the brand. I will say that when you're growing a D2C company, I think especially in the early stages, there is this sort of flirtatious, exciting expectation that if you just pay Facebook, you will get users. And I think if you're familiar with D2C companies, you know that is a world of diminishing returns, which is why the metrics that we really look at as our key success metrics are repeat customers, subscription rates, and our referral program. You would think that a vaginal health product would not be something that people want to share on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, especially when our average customer is, let's say, between the ages of 35 and 50, which means that they are probably a mom. They're probably friends with other members of the PTA. And the fact that that program is A, our lowest cost per acquisition channel, B, drives up to 30% of new customers a month, and C, has driven over 1 million impressions across social media, to me says that we have a business that can grow organically and sustainably, and then we're not going to bleed out by paying, Facebook through the nose for new customers.
Appreciate the detailed response. Thank you. This is helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caio, and incredible work on raising awareness to date. Maybe a question on my end is like, how do you see like the large CPG, like consumer packaged good players? Are they friends? Are they foes? Are you looking to collaborate, compete? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think that's a really good question, first of all. And I think it's multifaceted. I think that if you look at the board of Johnson & Johnson or Unilever or, Vagisil, Tampax, Durex, they're all owned by one of these few CPG companies. I think there's an opportunity for Quim to become a really strong acquisition target. That being said, I think it's worth making a lot of noise and demanding that change be made. As our speaker was talking about earlier, if we do not demand that changes are made, they won't be made. And so I do think Quim will be an incredibly strong acquisition target. I mean, if you look at what happened with Sustain was acquired by Grove Collaborative, Queen V was acquired by, I'm blanking on the name, but a very large UK-based CPG company. There is an opportunity for our growth to translate into an acquisition target. I don't want to call them foes. I want to say that we hopefully will push them and they will push us.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Caio.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, everybody. Just a quick reminder to our audience that this is your last chance to vote for our audience winner and your last chance to be entered to win a free Passport membership. So get your votes in. And so last but certainly not least, please join me in welcoming Liz Warner. She is the CEO and founder of Gleam to our virtual stage.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome, cool. So hello, so excited to be here amongst so many other talented female founders. I thought I'd start with a little bit about my background. So I was fortunate enough to be one of the first producers at what was then a startup at the time called BuzzFeed, who actually just went public 48 hours ago. So it's been a crazy ride. I got to do crazy things like jumping off of planes all the way to surprising people with Snoop Dogg. And the downside was that I also had very little time for a social life and often had these feelings of needing to choose between my career or my dating life, which I didn't feel like I should have to do throughout my 20s. And the worst is when you do manage to find one free night to go on a blind date with someone through an app, only to realize right away that you're not a match. So what I started doing pre-pandemic was video calling my dates before meeting with them in person. And not only did that allow me to fit dating into my schedule, but it also made me feel a lot safer as someone who's been a victim of harassment on these apps before. I never got a no to a video request and told my friends who were like, I'm gonna start doing that too. So sick of waiting around for this to exist, I decided that I'm gonna make this happen. So Gleam is a video-based dating app where one match equals one date. Why is this important? Dating apps have not changed in the last 9 years. For those of you that are familiar with them, the funnel has always been the same. It's swipe, match, and then text. Users spend 10 hours a week on average messaging on these apps to maybe get a single date. The biggest pain point is the texting. Most people have the same one-liner that they send over and over again, and you don't actually get to know the other person. Because the chance of getting a date is so low, conversations end up being very surface level and most of them die out. You also have no idea if you're talking to a real person, let alone someone you'd be a good fit with. So as a result, you spend endless hours texting, feeling frustrated and knowing absolutely nothing about all of these people. Many users feel defeated and delete these apps permanently and don't come back. Gleam is the first dating app that sets you up on an actual date before you can text. So one match equals one date. This increases safety, particularly for women. It cuts through the noise, eliminates wasted time, and schedules dates for you. So here's the way it works. You set your availability, you swipe to match, but then instead of going to texting, a little calendar pops up with times proposed for when you're both available. So you just pick one and a 10-minute date is scheduled. What's different about right now is that only 6% of people had tried video dating before the pandemic, whereas now 70% of people are open to it, and it is here to stay post-COVID. Yet there is no video first app that works around your schedule and serves this 70%, this massively growing audience. People are looking for the next new dating product as they're sick and tired of these old apps, and we have the product for them. What's cool about video is that it creates increased value. So users are paying more for actual dates and not just likes. The business model is straightforward. The free version has a limited number of dates and likes per week. And then the pro, you can pay to go on unlimited. There's also countless opportunities for additional revenue and partnerships, which I'd be happy to go on later in the Q&A. In order to make a successful app, you need a novel idea that's changing with the times. You need engineering and growth. We have all three. So Graham was a developer who built the app. He also built a company that was acquired by BuzzFeed. I've been an entrepreneur my entire working life, particularly in video. I was one of the first producers at BuzzFeed. I helped build the video department from the ground up. I also built Bring Me, which featured viral videos about local businesses and became the #1 travel publisher on the internet. During my time there, I was also tapped to make massive marketing campaigns for Bumble and Tinder. So Gleam is currently in beta. We did a public launch this year where we saw 500% week-over-week growth, 4,000 installs, and 1,000 weekly active users. This growth rate actually broke the app a few times, so we are in beta until we do a proper raise. And we're currently raising $1 million to do a proper public launch and accelerate our growth. We are opening for investment. We've already gotten requests for meeting next week, and we'll do a full raise at the beginning of next year. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Liz. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
All right, over to our judges. Alba, you want to kick us off?
For sure. Thank you so much, Liz, and congrats on your achievements with BuzzFeed. A great timing for you to pitch today and celebrate. Can you tell us more about what do users have to say about the experience, maybe like either NPS or what has been some of the feedback collected by utilizing video for the first time?
So we've gotten a lot of like really positive responses from the app, particularly from women, because they feel a lot safer being able to video chat before just like blindly meeting up with someone. We did some events on the app during our public beta tests, and we actually have 2 couples now that I know of who are still together. So we've like already seen success, which is very exciting.
Amazing. And are all of the calls happening via the app itself after users have matched and selected their availability?
Yes, all the calls happen through the app.
And what is the strategy or the thought for preventing competition from just copying this feature? Because I do think it's novel and would have loved for it to be in the times in which I was dating. But how do you really prevent another company from just taking that concept and applying it themselves?
Totally. So what makes Gleam different from the bigger apps like Bumble and Hinge and Tinder is that we've eliminated messaging until after the video call. So if they were to just like copy that, they would have to change 10 years of established user behavior of like basically what their app is built around, which is the messaging and the texting, in order to do what Gleam is doing. So if you remember, like Bumble's only difference from Tinder was that women message first. With Hinge, it was just friends of friends. So even though it sounds like a small change, making a video first app is actually like fundamental to the way that dating apps currently work. And the other cool thing is that it's not like they're mutually exclusive. Most people have 3 to 5 dating apps on their phone, and people are looking for the next big thing. So we see them as Gleam being an additional app that they would then add. So not necessarily being in like direct competition.
Thank you so much. I'll pass it on to Kate.
Yeah, really interesting. Would love to learn a little bit more about your metrics. Like, what is the daily, weekly, monthly usage looks like? What's the retention, churn, and how many paid versus free customers do you have now?
Yeah, totally. So the app is currently in beta, so it's not like anyone could just join it. But when we did do our public test, that was for about a period of like 2.5 months, we saw 4,000 installs. We had 1,000 weekly active users. We had 17,000 sessions, and we were seeing about 80 downloads a day. And I'd say that was like a 50-50 mix of doing just like organic growth events on the app. I also made a lot of viral video content, which I'd be happy to share later, that we just like posted on our Instagram. And then I used some of those for this pilot program that we did with Google, who selected us to basically run some like test ads for basically a project they were doing. So I got to make a lot of like viral content that then really helped accelerate the growth of the app.
Got it. And what's your strategy around acquiring customers?
Yes. So we have like 5 core ways we plan to basically grow the app. But the one I'll focus on, which I'm most excited about, is actually doing events on the app. So we tried this and already saw success with it. So we did an event where we partnered with Forbes, and all the 30 under 30 people picked a secret location and a specific date, and then they swiped on each other. And basically they went on dates. Some people actually used it for networking, which was kind of cool. And we got like 300 users overnight just from that single event. And then also like have this really, elevated user base, which is also very exciting. Another way is we tested out a beta version of dating coaches. So we had this feature on the app where you could pay to talk to a dating coach for 10 minutes. And we had about like 20 purchases, which was cool because it was kind of like a hidden button. And what's cool is that the dating coaches tell their clients in general to like meet with your date, like don't waste time messaging, like do a video call, meet with them in person, like just don't waste any time. So they're all very much behind Gleam. And so it's very easy to onboard them onto the app, which we did with this beta version. And then they then go and talk to all their clients and all their users about the app as well and get them to join.
Really interesting. And then just curious what you just mentioned, like from the majority of people these days spending most of their days in video calls, work-related video calls, and like Zoom fatigue is not something new these days. Do you see any resistance from your potential customers to kind of add in another layer of video calls to their daily schedules?
Totally. If anything, the resistance has more come from just some people being nervous to like jump on a video call first. So what we've kind of done is like 2 things. One, we limit the calls to 10 minutes. Once we do a like proper launch, it'll probably actually be like a lot shorter than that. So it's not like you're on these calls for hours on end, after you've been on calls all day. It's like a very short amount of time. And then secondly, we're implementing games and ways to just like make it kind of fun. So we currently have little like deep icebreaker questions that pop up. So, we want it to be like a fun experience. And then we're experimenting with more games like little drawing, like Pictionary games. So both of those things should help fight with the fatigue.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat with Alba. I wish I could use it in the past. It's very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much, Liz. And congratulations again, both on Gleam and BuzzFeed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you to our judges. With that, we've heard from each of our founders, and now you both have your work cut out for you. So we're going to take a quick break. I know I speak for everyone at OneValley when I say how impressed we were with each of the founders and really look forward to seeing what the future holds for you all. But we'll be back. We're going to take a couple minutes to tally the scores. See you soon. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm excited to share that we have our winners. I know that you're all probably waiting on the edge of your seat, so I'm not going to keep you any longer. And without further ado, I want to start with the winner of our audience participation prize. They will walk away tonight with an annual passport membership. And our winner today is Deanne Hotchkiss, CEO of Liberty Battery Tech. Congratulations, Deanne. We will be in touch shortly with the details of your passport membership. And as a quick reminder to the audience, if you don't already have a passport account for yourself, those watching tonight can use the code 25female to get 25% off of an annual passport membership. And to all of the eligible founders in the audience, please remember to apply for our Female Founders Scholarship at the link in the chat. Now to our startup awards. First up is the People's Choice Award, as voted by you, our awesome audience. The winner of our $500 cash prize today goes to Gleam. Huge congratulations, Liz, on all the progress on winning the People's Choice Award. We can't wait to see what you do next. And finally, I'd like to announce our grand prize winner. So walking away today with our grand prize is Navimize. So huge congratulations, Jennifer, and the rest of the team. Really looking forward to keeping in touch and seeing what you do. A quick thank you again to Carine, Kate, and Alba. It's been a pleasure sharing the stage with you today. Before we end, I just want to share a quick update about an upcoming event that we have actually happening tomorrow. We're excited to be hosting one of our mentors, founder and president of Core Communications, Otto Paul, for an Ask Me Anything session. So if you or anyone you know are interested in attending the event, you can find more information and the link in the chat. And I just want to take one brief moment to thank you guys, all of our amazing audience participants, and to remind you that you can connect with any of the startups that you saw today through the Meet the Startups tab at the top of the page. On behalf of myself and everyone over at OneValley, thank you guys so much for joining us. And huge thank you again to our founders, and congratulations to our winners. We can't wait to have everyone back soon. Take care.